There is no reason why we cannot hit 3.5 million. We don't hit 4.5 million. And by the time we're hitting 2027, there's no reason why we should not even hit 5 million. No doubt. But Your Excellency, for us to do that, there are a few things that we need to do. And we call it the low-hanging fruits. No sweat. Very easy things. Number one is accessibility to our country. You know, international tourism, for them to get here, Kenya is considered a long-haul destination. Anything above 5 hours is a long haul. Morocco, Algeria, Egypt are considered short haul, which is 4-5 hours. Kenya and South Africa are sub-Saharan, so we hit 8 hours and above. Now, coming to air connectivity is a big challenge. But I must also commend our national carrier. I'm one of the critics of our national carrier. But let me also tell you, Your Excellency, the day we don't have a national carrier is the day we will be spending transit time in Dubai for 11 hours. Ethiopia will be holding us for 14 hours to connect to another country. But as long as they know we have an airline, they'll never mistreat us. And one thing also we don't know is that our national carrier, despite all its challenges, is the biggest source of passengers into Kenya. 60% of the people coming to Kenya actually come aboard KQ. In a single day, they have between 110 and 130 flights daily. All the rest put together don't even hit 45%. Now that takes me, before I come to the open skies, Your Excellency, please address the issues bedeviling our national carrier. We've been bailing them out year in, year out. But there are some fundamentals that need to be sorted out. As a national carrier, they are not given priority at our airports, both JKA and Moi International. When you go to Ethiopia, Ethiopian Airlines is given red carpet. BA is given red carpet at Heathrow, but KQ does not get that. Coming to open skies, and specifically for Mombasa, and we've been fighting for a long time, Your Excellency. 2007, 2008, we were getting 42 charters a week, but the charter business is dying. We now need to replace them with scheduled flights. The likes of Turkish, the like of Qatar were flying into Mombasa, but after COVID, they were denied the license. And we are told we are trying to protect our national carrier. If Kenya Airways was flying to Istanbul, we will not be asking for flights to Istanbul, Your Excellency. When you take an airline like Turkish Airlines, it's going to connect Mombasa to 18 cities in Germany alone. You take an airline like Qatar, it's going to take us to over 125 cities globally. That is direct to Mombasa. And we appreciate that you approved Fly Dubai to come into Mombasa. And that is one key thing that we need to do. Next is tourism investors. Your Excellency, good news is we have a lot of people who are willing to come and invest in Kenya today. Beach hotels. But guess what? Getting land is a nightmare. Getting land is a nightmare. When you go to Diani today, and you go from Indian Ocean Beach Club all the way to Galu, you'll find a lot of parcels of land that are still empty. 10 acres, 20 acres, 30 acres. Your Excellency, most of these guys were allotted this land at independence. They were allotted this land, second president when he came into power. Zanzibar, next door, will not allow you to sit on a piece of land for more than 3 years. You either develop it or you surrender it back to government and somebody takes it. So, Your Excellency, as we sit now here, we have had investors who came here, they've disappointed, and they've had to move elsewhere because getting land is just next to impossible. And when you get the price people are asking for, and yet they were allotted for free, and they sat on it for 40 years, and they did nothing with it. So, Your Excellency, that is something we really need to address. We've already brought it to the attention of Her Excellency the Governor, Kwale, and she's committed to address this. As we address that challenge, Your Excellency, another big challenge we're facing, because it's going to impact negatively on our efforts to create employment. Prime beach plots are being subdivided into quarter acres, into half acres. When you put 20 homes, the most you can do is employ a guard and a housemaid. That's it. When you take a 10-acre plot and you put up 150 rooms, you're looking at 300 young men and women who have been employed. And the taxes that go to government is big time as well. So those are issues that we'd like you to address. And then finally is the visa and ETA that you gave us. ETA, our plea is this: select countries. Can you give them ETA on arrival? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Hersi. I thought you were going to give me some credit that your hotels are between 80 and 90% full. Isn't that true?
That's why, Your Excellency, I said we are going to hit 2.5. We will even go to 3.5. We've done very well. And we can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Hersi. Just just allow me 1 minute to agree with my friend Hersi that we can say many things, but Kenya is going places. You may not want to agree with me. We moved the numbers in 2020. In 2022, we were at 1.4 million arrivals. Last year, we went to between 2 million and 2 million and a bit. This year, we are going to hit 2.5, the highest arrivals in the history of Kenya. This year is going to happen. And it is because of the profile we have built. You know, many people accuse me, oh, you have been this place, you have been this place. I am the chief marketer of Kenya. You know, every place I go, I raise the profile of Kenya. Kenya is today respected globally. Kenya today, in any forum you go, they will say, what is Kenya saying? Right? So, and it's because of that what we are raising the profile of our country. I just wish everybody can do their bit so that we don't create instances where people begin to doubt what Kenya stands for. I am very confident that by 2027, 2028, the magical 5 million tourists, we will get there if we go with the trajectory we are going. And I will continue to push the limits for Kenya. I will continue to profile Kenya positively in a way that the world begins to think about Kenya. Number two, I agree with Hersi that already we have 42 countries where visa under the ETA program is automatic. When they apply, within 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, they can travel to Kenya. Unlike before, where they had to look for the Kenyan embassy, go and queue for visa, do all manner of things. The next step, which Hersi is telling me, is that we need even to take it further and say there are people who, even if you don't apply ETA wherever you are, if you arrive in Kenya, you can be given on arrival. That I agree with, and I'm going to work on it, so that we can build another layer of countries that to make it easier for people to come to Kenya. Just by changing the ETA, just by changing the visa regime, which I did in the last 6 months, we have 60% more people coming to Kenya today, just by making it easier for people to come to Kenya. Many people were asking me, why are you doing this? Oh, the country is going to be unsafe, and that kind of thing. I mean, we have made sure that there is sufficient checks and balances for us to make sure that Kenya is accessible. I agree with you that I need to do something about Kenya Airways. And I want to just relax, kidogo. Something needs to be done about Kenya Airways, and I am working hard at it. For your information, this year, it is the first year Kenya Airways made a profit. first year. And I still want to work on it. Bado iko na kisirani kidogo, but I'm working on it so that we make sure that we straighten it and it can serve our country better. We still have a long way to go, and I'm still applying my mind to it. I agree with you that we need to approve a few more airlines. It's a delicate balance, people. It's a delicate balance between allowing more people to fly here, because anybody we allow to fly here, they must also give us an opportunity to fly to their destination so that it becomes even. So we are discussing with other airlines. We just approved another 4 flights by the UAE airline, what is the Etihad? Yeah, we just Dagar is here. We've just approved Etihad to fly 4 times a week. So we're looking at other opportunities for us to be able to get more flights. I've heard you about Turkish Airlines. We will look at it. My PS Dagar is there. Please let. Turkish and Qatar. So we will look at it. But you know, there is something called in law quid pro quo. Trust my back. It is the reason why real estate is very expensive in Kenya. And it is the reason why I decided that to be able to build affordable housing, we are going to use public land. That is why we have managed to reduce the prices significantly, because the land cost was contributing 40% of the cost of every house. But now when we take out the land cost, we substantially reduce and make it affordable for more Kenyans to be homeowners. We will need to think about what we are going to do so that we can make investment, especially on tourism infrastructure, much more affordable. By the way, I am doing something on some of our conference facilities in Bomas, here in Mombasa. We're trying to get investors to be able to support us in that space. And I'm also doing something, one moment, I'm also doing something about the airport. Let's be honest, Kenyans. Let's be honest. Yani, the airport we have in Nairobi is made of canvas, inajengwa na hema, in the middle of tarmac. That is the arrivals. I mean, this is a temporary structure we put up almost, I don't know, 7 years ago. We don't. Ethiopia have a brand new airport. Rwanda have a brand new airport. And it is the reason why we need to work with investors to give us a new airport in Nairobi. I have seen many people saying, William Ruto wants to sell the airport. Am I a madman? You know, sure, how do you sell a strategic national asset? You have to be insane. You know? So we must have the right investment for the airport. The airport is a strategic government asset, national asset. What we want to do in the airport is to work under the PPP program. And people must understand, PPP has the potential, public-private partnership, has the potential to bring in private sector money, blend it with public sector investment to be able to create an outcome that brings win-win. Let me tell the people of Kenya, for example, let me give you an example. We are all celebrating the Nairobi Expressway. It nowadays takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes from the airport to Serena. True? Do you know that that Nairobi Expressway was not built with the government money? It was built by the private sector under the private-public partnership arrangement. You know? And that is the model that we are going to use to extend the superhighway from Nairobi to Nakuru, to Eldoret, to Malaba. That is what we are going to use to do many of our roads. That's what we want to do with our airport. We want to work with the private sector for them to do 3 things that are critical for our airport. to build a new terminal, to build a new runway, and to make sure that we refurbish what we have and remove the canvas. Ile hema iko hapo ambayo sasa ni arrivals. You know, it's a very shameful thing. The airport we built in 1970, I saw the plaque there, Jomo Kenyatta. That so many, almost 50 years ago. Now, the capacity was 7 million passengers. Last year, we had almost 9 million passengers. We are actually 10 years behind schedule in modernizing our airport. Other countries are ahead of us. I want to persuade us as Kenyans. Let us not buy into fake news. Let us not buy into propaganda. There is no government that can sell a national asset, a strategic national asset like the airport. We are going to work in an open and transparent manner to make sure that we develop the airport using legal instruments that can be audited by Parliament and by other agencies to make sure that they bring value to the people of Kenya. So the same thing that Hersi is saying, to develop the infrastructure here. We do not have sufficient conferencing facilities. The KICC we have in Nairobi was built through Arambe, imagine, by KANU, those days. Then it was taken over by government. It is now 50 years old. We need a modern conferencing facility if Kenya is truly going to be a hub for tourism. We need one in Nairobi, we need one in Mombasa, and that's why we are working with the former Mombasa resort here to see how we can get investors to be able to develop new conferencing facilities. Okay. There is a lady there in uniform, some very nice uniform.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Lucy Wamaida Machugu, the Vice President, Kenyatta University. And I want to represent all students in the universities in Kenya because actually we were on the streets and we would wish to inquire some answers from you. First is to appreciate the government and the Ministry of Education because you've set an event on the 9th of August at KICD for all the student leaders and all the students to discuss on the funding model. So some of the questions I would wish to inquire answers from you, Mr. President. Number one, why did you come up with the funding model? How does the funding model work? Do you feel like the implementation of the funding is okay? What is the criteria used to group people to different categories? That is about the funding model. Number two, the accommodation prices in the universities. That is the hostel prices. They are very expensive for us to afford. Mr. President, what are you doing about this? We cannot be able to afford houses or hostels where we are living in universities. What are you doing, Mr. President, about this? Something else about the job opportunities. Once we graduate from the university, we are told, maybe when you go and seek for a job opportunity, we are asked to give a 5-year work experience or a 3-year work experience. Yet, we've just graduated. Where will we get the experience from if you are not given the chance to get the experience? So, Mr. President, how can you help us on that? Lastly, Mr. President, what are you doing to re-engineer the National Youth Council? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lucy. And by the way, you are very smart. Now, let me say, you've asked me two fundamental questions. The new universities funding model, why? Very important question, why? When I came into office, the universities were struggling. They had a 60 billion shilling debt. Many universities were paying their lecturers half the price, half the salary. It was near a crisis. And many vice-chancellors agree with me. So it became necessary. And you know, I have a history. Once upon a time, I was Minister for Higher Education. So I understand that space pretty well. And when I came into office then as Minister for Higher Education, I am the one who developed and created the space around our TVETs, because there was a missing gap in our education system. I'm very proud that today our TVETs are a big portion of our higher education learning infrastructure. Let me go back to the funding model. The funding model, by the way, affects both our university students and also affects our TVET students. So what did I do? I did three things. Number one, we made a commitment as government that we are going to give every student 80% scholarship and loan. But because we could not afford, especially because the number of students, when we made that commitment, it was like 15 years ago. But you know, as the numbers increased in the university, it became difficult for us to meet that commitment. And so what ended up happening was that while we committed to pay 80%, we ended up paying 50%, some cases 45%. So what happened? There was a huge funding gap in our universities, a huge funding gap in our universities. And our universities were struggling. They couldn't pay for services, they couldn't pay lecturers, they couldn't run their programs, and we ended up with affecting the quality of education in our universities. You couldn't attend as many labs as was required. You couldn't attend as many practicals as you required. We ended up compromising on our education. So what did I do? I said, we need to be honest with ourselves. And we said, there are parents like William Ruto who can afford. Why would William Ruto be given 80%? Why would the child of William Ruto be given 80% scholarship? The same as a child of Mama Mboga. What happens is that both our children end up suffering. So we changed the model. We said, since they to assess every student on the basis of the information they supply, and it has worked.